Howard Ream,
Here.
Dalton Barlow,
Here.
Tom Holm,
Here.
Alma Hammond,
Here.
Nathan Burnham,
Here.
Drew Shadarker,
Here.
and John Chapman.
Here.
Thank you. We have Dalton lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance
All right. Now, this is the time for any member of the town council to declare if they have a conflict of interest with any items that are set for possible action on the agenda. Are there any conflicts at this time? Seeing none, item number 5, we'll move on to the minutes. So has the council had an opportunity to review the minutes from the January 13th, 2025 council meeting?
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything.
Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, the motion carries. All right, this is the portion of the meeting that is our public comment portion. Anyone from the public is invited to make a comment at this time. Please step up to the podium here and state your name for the record. There's a standard time limit of 3 minutes per person, although we welcome and invite your comment. No discussion or response from the council is required, and individuals should not anticipate any. Now, I understand there are individuals here representing an organization looking to do a skate park. Okay, if you'll wait, we'll allot a little bit more time to hear that presentation. So if the public would like to speak, please step up to the mic here and state your name for the record.
Mayor and City Council, thanks for this opportunity. My name's Greg Olson. I happen to live at the corner of Richards and Academy Avenue, and being on that corner, I've consistently observed speeding ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, and cars and trucks fishtailing back and forth down the dirt roads that are there. I think it's probably one of the more abused areas because so far between the stop signs on Richard Street and so far between the stop signs on Academy. We've called the city police on several occasions to ask about what we can do over that. The police have told me it's difficult to control traffic and pull over traffic and issue tickets to the kids because the kids all know already that they're prohibited from high-speed chases, and therefore all they have to do is speed up and ignore them being there, and that they're not going to chase them because they're prohibited from chasing them, which is fine. They also know that all they have to do to evade the police is to duck into any of the accesses into the crib, which they typically do. So it's very difficult for the police to do anything about all that problem. So I've asked them if they could just pull vehicles over that are driving up and down the street where they're obviously not licensed. I mean, ATVs should be licensed even at that on city streets. Or if they have kids that are obviously not old enough to have a driver's license, could they pull them over and ask them what's going on? And they said, no, they can't do that either because all vehicles in the whole city of Colorado City are allowed to be on any of the streets, no matter what, because of public access to public recreation areas and because of the need to go to gas stations to get to public recreation areas. And all streets in the whole town are considered to be that kind of public access. So therefore, anybody can ride anything on any street, apparently. So they couldn't do anything with that. So anyway, it's my belief that I believe that this is promoting a culture of lawlessness in regard to traffic regulations, rules, regulations, and even just simple courtesies about how we treat traffic. And it seems to start with all very young children driving very low-powered motorcycles and ATVs, which, by the way, I don't have a problem with, because I think that's part of the nice things about living in a community like this, is the things that little kids can do that they can't do in other communities. That's fine. The problem is that these young children grow up, and before long, they're starting to ride a lot more powerful vehicles and getting more and more reckless. You've all seen kids riding up and down the streets on wheelies, going faster than the speed limit and going for blocks at a time. Now, that's all pretty entertaining, but it's really not safe, and it's really is, again, promoting a culture of not paying attention to speed limits, to rules and regulations that you aren't doing that. Just 2 nights ago, my wife and I came and turned it off of Arizona Avenue to come down to our house. She was in a car ahead of me. I was in the car behind. A white Corvette came up, raced by, going probably 60 miles an hour, passed me on the left-hand side, swerved in between me and my wife, passed her on the right-hand side, and then headed on down the road. And, I mean, it's just, there's things like that goes on a regular basis. So I just think those things need to be addressed, and somehow or other we need to get a culture that promotes some kind of traffic control. So, thinking of that, I know that in the town of Hurricane, they have access roads that are designated access roads that unlicensed vehicles, unlicensed drivers can ride on and can go and can get to all these different areas. I would just like to have you guys consider, if it's possible, to go in and have streets like Arizona, Utah. We might have to work with the city of Hilldale, Arizona, Utah, Johnson, maybe Mojave, as designated streets, and then also maybe Central, maybe Richards. I don't know about another street, but if you had those 6 streets designated as vehicle access, and anybody could ride anything on those streets in order to get to a recreation area or to get gassed up, then the police would know. And then anytime that anybody's on any of these other streets, they would know that there's something they could do about it. They could stop them, they could do something. All you have to do is go look at any of the dirt streets and you'll find grooves and all that. You've seen them all, everybody's seen them. So anyway, that's all I want to do, is ask you to consider that. We've tried to do what we can by calling police, by calling people to do something, but it's dangerous and it's not good, and it's everybody. It's just promotes a culture of recklessness here in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I leave, is there any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, please step up to the mic. We will allot you 15 minutes to hear your pitch.
All right, good evening, and I just want to thank you, council, and those in attendance for giving us some minutes to present. By way of introduction, my name is Dave Duffin. This is my wife, Sarah. We live in Washington City, and my park, which has a skate park on it, which are in those pictures, is located near Purgatory in the on county unincorporated land over there by the DMV. As we present tonight, I'm going to use phrases like skate park or skating, and that word is to be understood as really any implement that can be used at a skate park. That's the vernacular, but it includes bikes, it includes scooters, it includes rollerblades, and of course it includes skateboards. So please consider that as we talk about a few things here. I guess by way of the business, the business name that I run, that I started and founded, is called Omega Ramps. What we do is we build all concrete skate parks, but we do so differently than any other skate park builder in the country. We do so, as you can see in these images here, using precast concrete forms to pour certain ramp components, and then we combine that with pour in place slabs, stairs, low slope banks, and combine those also with boxes and rails to create elaborate custom skate parks, but to do so in a manner that scales down from a cost benefit standpoint down to a single feature up to a 15,000 foot large regional skate park and everywhere in between. The traditional method is to pour and place everything with using high dollar skilled labor, typically from people from far out of town, and that drives up costs significantly. So that's kind of the background. The reason I started the company is because, as you can see there, I have 5 children, and I care deeply about them and children in the world, generally speaking, and what their future is like. And I've frankly seen some things that worry me significantly, and that is their gravitation towards devices and other habits and behaviors that are not conducive to, I guess, productivity and later in their lives, and resilience, and all the things that we grew up with and considered once normal that now are fleeting. So that's why I do what I do. I believe deeply in the benefits of skate parks, and I'm here to talk a little bit about what that could look like for your community. So just a little more background about what we do. We believe that everybody should have access to a skate space. We'll say skate space. It encompasses everything from a big skate park down to one little feature, tucked into the corner of a park. And we believe that they should have the same access, generally speaking, as playgrounds, as ball fields, as ball courts, which we see in ubiquitous manner all around us, all across the entire country. Yet we see huge, vast skate park deserts between the skate parks that are built. So what are we doing about it? Well, I mentioned that a moment ago. We're building skate parks, and we're doing so in a way that scales at any size for any city. And the reason we're doing it is so we can get people off devices and out with their family and community, so they can do things and learn skills that will benefit them in their lives, like resilience and goal setting and all the wonderful things. Okay, to put all those words differently, we build skate spaces so that we can build families and communities. I chose these images because there may be a mindset of people when they think about skate parks of maybe a type of person that maybe stereotypically goes there. And I just want to dispel that myth that what you see in these images is the vast majority of what you see at skate parks across the country. It's kids, it's communities, it's smiles, it's mothers, it's fathers, it's everybody together enjoying themselves. If you go to some of the skate parks in our county on a Saturday when the kids are out of school, you'll likely see that. We were there Saturday with a couple of our family friends, and this was the type of experience we had. And I have a lot of slides that talk about the benefits that I could bore you to tears with. I can email these to you that talk about why have them, that go into details and data and research. I can go through some of the projects we have and that we're working on, both locally and in other communities. But I really just wanted, I guess, open a dialogue and learn about you guys and understand your needs. I'm not coming in cold. We have had conversations with John Barlow, with Brian Baer, with Sue Wilkie, who works with Hunter Barlow over at the clinic. We've driven around the city. We've even looked at candidate sites. From what I've gathered, and you guys obviously weigh in here, it seems like the consensus from the people that I've talked to is there's a need. There's a lot of people here that could benefit from something like this. I mean, we just had the gentleman talking about four-wheelers ripping up and down the road, right? And I don't know, is that what they do every day because that's what they're most passionate and excited about? Maybe. Or maybe they are a little bored and could use a constructive place to play. I don't know. You guys know your communities way better than me. I don't pretend to know. But I do know that I can deliver at the most within the most cost-effective model available in the country, an all-concrete, robust skate park that will match the quality of any skate park across the country and provide these benefits that I've outlined so far in this presentation. Are there any questions?
So in Washington City, does the city own it or do you own it?
The city would own it, yes. And I would add that I had a phone conversation minutes before the meeting started stating that if the city, in this case Colorado City, or if we can talk to Hilldale, Same thing, if they were to make a formal request to the UEP for a land donation, that the UEP would likely grant it. Jeff Barlow would be the individual to speak to on that.
Do other cities fund this out of their own funding, or is there funding available, or?
That's a great question. What a lot of cities will do, and this is not exclusive, they'll pull from their city budget. They'll often apply for grants. In fact, right now and through the end of March, there's an outdoor recreation grant at the state level that's funded for anything that gets our youth especially out of their houses and doing something. And what it is a dollar for dollar match, both dollar for dollar or in-kind contribution. So I know that these communities are absolutely brimming with high-skilled individuals when it comes to construction. So they would consider in-kind matching with labor and materials contributed to the project.
Suppose the UEP donates a $50,000 piece of property, or $100,000. How much acreage do you need?
Typically, that's a great question. Skate parks, although they seem kind of big and elaborate, they're often 10,000 square feet or smaller. That's smaller than a tennis court. We've gone around. We looked at Cottonwood Park, Maxwell, the covered pavilion along Arizona Street or Boulevard or whatever the name is. Great candidates, all fantastic. As long as you have a piece of dirt, doesn't have to be flat. In fact, sometimes sloped sites are even funner to play with, and we can tailor the design to fit right into the sloped hillside. So we can work with almost anything, unless it's a very steep pile of boulders or something like that would be hard to develop.
Say we build a 10,000 square foot park, give us a rough idea what that would cost.
So that's a good question. At full retail, I'll say, because I know that this community could maybe rally certain resources to chip away at this. But at full dollar, brand new undeveloped dirt, we're around 40 cents per square foot. And for your community and its population, I actually think 10,000 square feet, though it would be great, would actually be a little too large. I would probably recommend something in the 6,000 to 8,000 square foot range.
So about 40,000?
Did I say cents? I meant to say dollars. Yes, $40.
$40 a square foot?
Yes.
So that's $500,000 approximately for a real good one.
For that size. Now, there are a lot of factors that contribute into
Right.
that. Maybe I'll bring this one up as an example. So this one right here, I would consider this, I'm going the wrong way. So this one in Pomona, this was a 2,800 square foot slab, just a flat slab that we set features on. The total cost on this for California labor dollars and all that was $140,000. In this market, the same skate park would be more like 60. Just to give you an
if the
idea of
UE
kind of the low end.
If the UEP donated a $20,000 piece of property, would the state match that?
That is a question I don't have an answer to. I don't know if they accept land donations in kind for their grant.
Do these parks typically have an area for old geezers that have to skate on four-wheel skates?
That's a great question. I am a big proponent of open flat areas. You can pack features, and it's really from my business model, I have a menu of features and you order them. They don't scale, they don't change price really for anything, and then we deliver and install them, and a local contractor prepares the site according to the plans and specs that I provide them. What is design? If it's some ramps on the fringe and a few features in the middle and a lot of open space, so you can get on your four wheels and roll around, we could do a park exactly like that. In fact, for a community where maybe there isn't a large population of riders, open areas that don't have obstacles or have very minimal obstacles is actually preferred. It reduces that barrier to entry and gives people an area to practice and gain some early successes that turn around and lean into their likelihood of participating in the sport further.
Well, I personally sprained both of my wrists during Christmas roller skating, and so
Yeah?
I need open space.
Were you trying to roll on a ramp or something?
How well does your product hold up to motorcycles?
Motorcycles as good as anything. They're solid reinforced concrete that are by a 20x factor over-engineered for anything that anyone could throw at it. I sleep well at night knowing that, you know, if someone took a car in one of my skate parks and was doing donuts and banking up the ramps, that nothing would happen to it. Yeah, my spec mix is well north of 5,000 PSI with, you know, the equivalent of 80,000 pounds of tensile force resistance through the rebar cage. And the loads are not even close to that for what we could throw at it.
All right.
It's a good question, yeah, because
One
people
question I
get
have
creative.
is, say for instance, we decided on like a 5,000 square foot park,
Mm-hmm.
and you're saying that would be $40 a square foot, that'd be 200,000? And
Yeah,
how much
roughly.
of that money would have to go to you? I mean, say we did all the dirt work ourselves.
Yeah.
Did all the prep work,
Uh-huh.
and you just brought in your components and set your components. How much money could we save on something like that? What would you
Lot.
have to have for that?
So traditionally, if we're full, you know, competitive bid, you know, we'll say full retail dollar for the non-Omega ramp scope, I typically am splitting the contract 30-70 or 40-60 with another contractor. I actually make a minority amount on those deals because it's the earthwork, it's the slab work.
So 40% to you and 60 to them,
Mhm.
or other way around?
Or even less, 30 and 70, yeah. So you can save a tremendous amount of money in that regard. And I don't know how this market is, but I know the city of St. George and this is actually things are a little slow construction-wise, and they're getting really good pricing on concrete work right now.
So you're saying that a $200,000 park at $40 a square foot, you'd need 80,000? That'd be 40%.
I guess what I'm saying is if you were doing earthwork yourselves through the city or
We do our
donated
own
work,
fence around it.
you did your own, yeah. You had, you know, your concrete guys, you know, taking their retail $8 a foot price and saying we're going to donate a portion of that and do it for $6. All of that is coming off of the $40 per square foot. And to give you an idea of what like a park looks like at $40 a square foot, I think this is relevant to the discussion. This is a park we're building in St. George at the Little Valley Sports Complex. Okay? This is about 9,000 square feet, and we're actually below the $40 a square foot mark expected. We haven't quite bid out the other stuff, but just looking at recent projects and fairly predictable unit costing, this is coming in at about 37. And this is a complex, fairly elaborate skate park. You could be much, much more simple and be in the 30 or even high $20 per square foot range. I try to throw the numbers a little high so it's not a surprise later if, you know, we design something elaborate and it comes back a little high. I'd rather err high and have numbers come back low. So the $40 is kind of definitely the high side of the range. And this park in this market is below that. And you can see what it looks like. This, by the way, will be online before the end of their fiscal year, which is July to June.
You're saying down there off of Horseman's Park, down there, pickleball
Yes.
courts,
Yep.
and baseball
Yep.
fields?
Just north of the soccer fields. In fact, if you're familiar with the site, that's the soccer field on the bottom, and that's the restroom top right and the pavilion top left.
Good to know. I run the ambulance down there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Audience members? Yes. Yep.
What's the liability risk? Like, is the city responsible? I mean, if somebody gets hurt,
Yeah.
obviously, we can't have somebody there all the time. People are coming and going and they're free.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, because what's happened as skate parks have come on board, really brief history, but it's relevant. California built a bunch of parks in the late 70s, early 80s. They started getting sued, and they shut them all down, almost all of them. Skateboarding almost died in like 1983. And then Tony Hawk and his friends made a really awesome video that got people excited again. While in parallel, the lawyers in California, of all places, worked it out to make sure that skateboarders and skate parks and cities building them didn't get sued. So what they did is they legally defined skateboarding as inherently risky, okay? And under such definition, there's a lot of legal protections. Essentially, for someone to bring a case, they would have to prove negligence. They couldn't just say, well, that was dangerous and someone walked in and got hurt. That's not grounds for any reward. They would have to say, well, yeah, it was dangerous and they probably should have known better, but they went in and, you know, the ramp cracked in half and broke their leg because it cracked in half. That's the type of case you would have to make to be able to be rewarded and prevail in a lawsuit like that. In addition, it's better if you don't staff a skate park, and especially if you don't charge for it. So there's standardized language, even with certain standards like ASTM and whatnot, for what to say. And if you post that and say, we encourage you to wear pads,
Skate at your own
this
risk.
is risky, skate at your own risk, and there's a whole list of them that have been vetted through the courts for decades. If you post that in a clear place and your park is maintained, which they will be because it's concrete, and unless they're taking a jackhammer to it, and it's going to be a concrete smooth surface that they can ride for years, you're reasonably protected. For the very random stuff that almost never happens, you have your city's umbrella insurance policies that would cover that, the same as somebody tripping on a public sidewalk anywhere in your community.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
All right.
Thank you. Great question.
Thank you.
Yes?
So you designed this, and then
This is-
building materials, is that it?
Yes. So we would come up with the design, and 90+% of the parts, the skatable features, would come on a semi-truck, and we'd install them with a crane. Everything else is prepared. So it would be flat slabs, it would be footings, it would be support walls that are set up to receive the ramps. And we put them in and then pour up the flats right up to the ramps, and you have your skate park.
All right.
So you act like a project manager for this thing.
Yes.
There's no bidding process to it, or is it?
There is for the flat work and all the site prep. So my portion would be, you know, what it is, and I can, you know, operate in whatever manner that you need to, full transparency, justifiability for a sole source. That's what most cities do. You can bid it against other skate parks if that's required. I'll tell you right now, I'll win because they have to bring out crews from California that live here for 2 months and basically build your skate park like a swimming pool. I'd rather you keep all that money, or most of the money, through your local contractors, and I bring the precast parts to deliver the model.
All right.
The
Thank
one you
you.
built down at Purgatory, how big is that one?
So that one is the one from the first slide with my family, and that one is 2,800 square feet for the core skate park, and then it has a pump track that goes out and back, and that would be, it's a little hard to define square footage on a pump track because it's such a narrow piece, but it kind of occupies a footprint.
And how much did that one cost?
So that one on a full retail would probably be around 130 to 140K.
The reason I'm asking is I just
Yeah.
wondered about one that's close that we can actually just drop by and look at it
Yeah,
sometime. And just
I'd love it if you came by. In fact, John has been to my park and he was very impressed. John Barlow. So, yeah, if you guys have I don't know if you got a city bus for field trips, we'd love to host you. We'll buy lunch.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to town manager and department reports. Liddell.
Okay, I'll try not to go into too much detail since you have this report in your packet, but our operations for some reason apparently are down to about a third of what they was a year ago. It sure didn't seem like it. Being out there, it seemed like they were up. The new hangar's going up, then the foundations have been poured and established for both my hangar and S&L Underground hangar. And S&L also has been erecting theirs. They've got the framework up, still got the sheeting and insulation and the door to do. My foundation's done, and my son plans on starting the erection this weekend. And we have a third hangar out there, Luke Beistlein. His hangar's sitting there. He has not yet started his concrete work and foundation. Also, the survey crews have been out there, so it appears that the Dodeca Alliance hangar, as far as I know, and I'm hearing rumors that they're getting ready to put that one up too. That's the big one. It's like 2 hangars in one compared to the rest of them. We've the underground fence skirting project's going to start tomorrow. As last I've been told, it's going to be tomorrow and take about 5 weeks, even though the crews think they're going to get it done quicker than that. The master plan update, that process has actually been started. They've been coordinating for some surveys and things like that, so it's necessary to do that. We've had quite a bit of trouble with our weather station. Did have a maintenance technician come in earlier this last week, and he was able to find where some settings were set wrong by the people that supplied the circuit boards. So it's working, even though we still don't have phone communication with it. So I'm continuing working on that. We're very, very busy, West Wing Aviation, doing just a lot of work. So that's pretty much my report, unless you have a question.
Thank you. All right, Building Department, Andrew.
Good evening. I've been kind of busy. I didn't get a report in the packet, but things are rolling about normal. I think I've had around 6 or 7 new permits issued within the last month. Over 100 inspections done, inspection items. There's been quite a few back and forth on a couple of plan reviews. Running into still a little bit of struggles getting all of the reviews done through planning and zoning in Hilldale and through through the utilities. Takes a little bit of effort to get those reviews done, but we're working through those. On the CDBG grants, we're working on the final draws and closeout on the Central Street project, and we have not had the method of distribution or the notice of funding for the RA or the SSP yet. We're struggling to get a good map of the street lights that we want so that we can get that environmental review done, and that's been the biggest struggle that we're dealing with, is trying to get that map put together. So we're working on that. We do have a couple of projects that have been completed. We're nearing completion, the build out on the +1 building. So we completed the building several months ago, and now the interiors, the tenant improvements are nearing completion there. We've issued a notice or a certificate of occupancy for the thrift store, and the LDS Chapel's coming along there. Just did their 4-way inspection, so they're starting to throw in insulation and sheetrock in a lot of areas, so they're moving along fairly well. I have not talked to our engineer, our structural engineer, in the last week or so, but I understand we're really close to getting the construction documents to start getting bids for the records room remodel or expansion here and redoing the front sidewalks and handicap ramps. So we've been hoping to try to get that done before the end of this fiscal year, so.
Okay, thank you. Does the council have any questions?
I'm just curious about these wagon train little sleeping quarters that they rent out over here on the east side of the creek. What do they do for sewer up there?
I am not sure. I think that they have, I'm not sure if they have a sewer line up there. That would be a question for utilities. I know they have a water line that they've put in across the creek that's come from Hilldale Street straight across the floodway.
I kind of thought you was the code enforcement guy around here.
No, I'm already busy. I can't do that.
I'm just curious, it just seemed like there's a lot of those along that bench, and I just wondered.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but my understanding is that there is a sewer connection.
Well, didn't they permit to do that?
No, they didn't permit through me. So, some of those are just kind of, I mean, I don't know.
Is that just something that falls through the cracks and we all just say, hey, that's cute, and we forget it?
I guess. We went back and forth a couple years ago on those campsites and the trailers and all that. If they're a modular, like a wagon that somebody just pulls on there, you know, I don't really get involved in that unless they're mounting them and putting permanent power into them. Then it falls under building. Other than that, it's more of a planning and zoning issue, and I know we went through that with the tents. The health department told them that the tents could only be up if they were being used, so they were supposed to be taken down. I don't know where the enforcement is on that or what happens with them.
Are those in Hilldale or in Colorado City?
I think that most of those ones that you see are in Hilldale.
They're in Hilldale.
And there's some there's some on the Water Canyon Road in past Maxwell.
Okay,
So they permit them through Hilldale City, is that what you're saying?
Those went through the Hilldale City Planning and Zoning.
but once they hook permanent power up to them, then that's where
Yeah, if they hook permanent power into them, then I should see that. They do have a power pole out there with one little building there. I guess it's their office, but it's a modular. So they've got a freestanding power pole.
so if it's an outlet and a plug, it does not fit that.
Yeah, and technically, when they put those in, they should have done a permit and had them inspected because they're going to have to, you know, they're subject to, you know, underground wiring and depth of bury and type of wiring and GFI requirements. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't know if they've done them or not, but it's kind of
Okay.
hard for me to chase them all.
Okay, thank you. Council have any other questions?
Thanks, Andy.
All right. Police Department, Chief Bradley.
Well, it is springtime as we go back through this season of motorcycles and ATVs that we deal with. The report, it's kind of interesting in the second paragraph, we talk about this crash that occurred on Arizona. And then we turn around a week later and have a repeat of the exact same accident and literally the same location. hitting the same vehicle, just pulling out of their driveway. And those are obviously when you have riders that completely disregard the law and are taking those actions, because those motor vehicles and motorcycles should not be on the sidewalk at any point in time. So we do get into that, the issue of our enforcement and getting them stopped and things like that. And we have all those same issues that Mr. Olson came and mentioned earlier tonight. In 2022, prior to this particular council being seated, I presented to the council an 11-page document that included all the laws and state laws for both states, including a map that we drew up of dedicated roadways and things like that we presented. And I think I'll just re-present those to this particular council for you to look at and review. There's some different issues that come with those maps and things like that legally, especially as we talk about the two states and what the states require and what we're able to enforce. And it's not just a black and white thing. And when we talk about accessing OHVs to fuel stations and things like that, that all comes into play. One thing that we've been looking at from the police department is the educational aspect. We have gotten a lot better, and we have still a long ways to go. But we see more safety equipment, we see more helmets on the kids, and we see the speeds and things coming out. Now, do we still have the groups? Yes, we do. But those groups are actually not the under age 18 that we're struggling with the most. They are older than 18, and probably that 18 to 24-year-old group that we still are, having these challenges with. So one of the things that we were looking at doing was a stronger educational program in working with the park rangers who teach the off-highway safety classes and having some of our officers become certified to teach that class. We've had that put on, not by our choice, put on the back burner a little bit as the state merged their rangers together in the state of Utah over the last little bit, if you've watched how that has gone. And they've been busy in-house getting their own ducks in a row. I do expect as we come out, we will approach that again this spring with them, and so that we can push those things out. We also want to push out the educational things, and I will, as we've had these things occurred, these last couple crashes have occurred, as we sit down for our department meeting coming up, we will talk about enforcement and citations and things like that, because we have gone through the educational part. It is time, there becomes a time where we start just issuing the traffic tickets for everything. We would prefer to see them investing all the money into safety equipment and putting helmets on their kids and gloves and chest protectors and boots, and so that they can, still enjoy their machines versus paying the court money. But sometimes that is what it takes to get parents off of that bubble. And also, there are times when we can issue the parents themselves citations for failing to, know where their young kids are at and what they're doing, as they are obligated when their kids are out on those machines under the age of 18 to have supervision for them. So you'll see us take kind of a little bit of a different stance in the next little bit as we work through some of the traffic enforcement. To some degree, we can make a choice, or the choice could be made here with council, whether you want to go to a zero tolerance, and we just simply take them completely off the street and say we will not have any, because that to a large degree can be done. And that would come back to saying the only times they could be there is when they're riding with their parent, fully equipped with a machine that is registered and insured. So we have to find the balance between where we're at and that.
Are
No,
you-
that would be dumb.
Are you talking zero tolerance for children that are not legally allowed to be on those by themselves anyway?
Yeah,
Well, the thing is it's not just dirt bikes. Cause I've watched full-grown people and rangers spin Brodies in the middle of intersections.
Yeah.
So if we take it all and we penalize dirt bikes for everybody's dumb actions, that would be
And-
stupid.
and I have that same sentiment. I share the same sentiment that,
I think getting into like you did, I mean, we did some training for them, and I know it made a big difference, but that was a few years ago. Maybe let's approach it that way, because if we cut it all off, then we're pretty damn stupid.
so I appreciate that, because that's been the approach I've tried to take. And really, as far as people running from us, that is down tremendously from when I started here. And it is very rare that we have, we on occasion will have a motorcycle that will still do those things. They drop into the creek or they take off, and there's just places we cannot go. As to the side-by-sides, it has been a while since we've had a full-size, like a 4-seat side-by-side that has really tried to evade a police car. And so I feel like because we've taken that approach, we have gained a lot of compliance where people themselves are compliant. And we're not having that problem. I would like to continue down that path. And I know we have people that become frustrated, and especially as these things go past their homes. But I think we're on a good path, and we need to keep going. And then address our smaller problem groups with those things, and not take it out on the general motoring public. I still know that a lot of these kids are quite respectful, and they are just trying to go from their friend's house to their other friend's house so that they can do that. We don't really have a great transportation system for them in this.
Well, also, if you penalize everybody for the actions of because a lot of them finally respect the police department now, from what I've seen. The ones that, like you said, have gone through the trainings. So if you're gonna penalize all of them because there's still a little group of dumb people, but there's vehicles that are that stupid, so we need a different approach. We need to teach them, because we're not cutting them all off.
I think education is the correct thing to do. Sometimes the peers are tougher on themselves than the cops are.
Well, I don't necessarily follow the Facebook stuff, but I understand as I have some of my officers they came back and read, the rider of the one motorcycle that was involved in the accident wrote a really good response to all the comments. And we couldn't have done that. Like his response of taking responsibility for his actions and what he did carries so much weight. And it carries a lot of weight with the kids of that age and that age group. And that is a great message. You know, I would like to, sometimes I wish we'd just turn around and repost those on our own stuff, but that's not for us to be involved in. But it was a great response because that carried weight with the community. And so that's kind of my plan. I did want you to know, yes, these are on our radar. These are things that we want to do. And I do want to get into the educational side of it and offer safety classes here where we actually do the riding safety classes. But we do have to be certified to offer those things. So that is our plan.
I think education is a great way, because it's the same thing. You're not on every street. You can't catch even vehicles that are speeding. So you're always gonna have somebody that has it happen that somebody didn't see. But it could be with a car too. So education is the best route.
I agree.
Yes.
In the white Corvette, we did speak to the Olsons about that. We're already working on that, just so you know. That's a thing.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there anything else?
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Public Works, Rick.
You guys got that beautiful packet?
Yeah, I heard you proofread it.
Yeah. We've been putting a lot of base down, beating it in for those kids on those four-wheelers. If you get it wet enough and hit it hard enough, they can't break through it very easy. We've just been trying to cover up a lot of these roads. We're working our way down. And our crusher broke. And it broke again. We got it going, or got new parts in it and new screens and stuff, and ran it for a day, and it went again, and spent a couple days trying to figure it out, and we got it going again. But parks guys have been painting and cleaning up the bathrooms and the playgrounds, and shorthanded at the shop. I miss Dave, trying to finish the few projects he was working on, get him out of the shop so we can use him.
Have applications out for new mechanics or?
Yeah. Yeah, and we've had one apply so far. But yeah,
What's the base rate for the mechanics?
it depends. Everybody that comes to work here starts at $18 an hour. It's hard to find, a lot of people that want to start with that, but it depends on their experience.
So is some of these projects stuff that you would just hand out to another company to come and do the rebuild for you, or that kind of stuff?
We've
Or do we
talked
try to
about
do all
some
that
things.
in-house?
We've got a guy that we can hire independently, for stuff we can't handle, but come in and work on it.
Okay.
Does council have any other questions? Thank you.
Little white Corvette wasn't mine.
Okay,
So now they know where to look.
thank you.
Mine's a classic.
Thank you.
He didn't say whether it's plastic or not.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see Jerry. So Vance.
On the utilities, there's the packet. We get a package. I don't know that I can add to it.
I believe there was one question.
Question, well 25, the last one they just finished, did they get that test pumped?
I think so, but I don't know what it produced. But the drilling is done, the rigs are taken down.
Any chance we could put a little bit more pressure on one of those guys to be here and answer questions for us when we do this?
Well, the problem is I don't know that they're not gonna be here till they're not here.
Okay.
I mean, I thought that one of them would be here.
Thank you.
I've got a question. It's actually on page 27, customer service billing. It says service orders, then shut-off notices. That's my question. 153, is that
That
delinquent
means there was
or-
153 services that were sent out a notice that they were gonna be shut off if they didn't
If they didn't catch up on the
bring
bill.
some money in.
Pay their bill.
So it's delinquent?
17 of them didn't respond in time.
Okay, that's what I know. Wow, that's a bunch.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may begin on the manager's report.
Okay, on page 30 in your packet, the month of January got quite interesting. We had the resignation of both John T. Barlow as Public Works Director and David Lane from Public Works. He took a much better paying job in the private sector. We couldn't even compete with him. So that's used up quite a bit of my time. I'm also gonna have to used a lot of my time getting involved in the landfill accounting, some of those things. But that'll transition as it can. Rick is overseeing streets and roads and parks. Aaron LaCourty is assuming the role of floodplain manager. He's working on those credentialings. And he's also overseeing the encroachment permits, things like that. He's been doing that for a while. And we're leaning on John Fisher to do more of the day-to-day operations of the landfill, and he's good for it. They're a good crew. They're a good team. We're still working on the FY '24 financial audits. We thought we'd have them done by tonight, but we're still waiting on others. Plus Hinton Burdick had some staffing changes, so hopefully we'll have it next month. I didn't include it in my report. I neglected to, but we had a feller from the USDA. A couple years ago, you recall, we put in for funding to do some planning, Short Creek Wash. They're finally getting here. So he came, did a site visit, looking from state line to out past Redwood. And now he will go back and write up a report of what our needs are. And then the USDA will take those and start making projects with them. So hopefully in the next couple of years we'll see some positive results from that. There's several areas we need to do some bank stabilization. We need to do some grade control structures. And we need to do wing walls on the entries to all the crossings so they channel the water more directly into the culverts. So there's quite a bit. I told him our priority was from Richard Street to 389 was our first priority, and then we'll work from there based on what projects they're willing to fund. The legislature's in session with some bills on the table that would be very detrimental to the local municipalities as far as funding and zoning. We'll see how those go. We are working on starting the next year's budget processes. We did get our expenditure limitation for FY '26. We show some population increase, which has a positive effect on both our revenue and our expenditure limitation. So in the last 3 to 4 years, it's showing about a 33% increase over the census count. And that's what our funding's tied to, is that census count. So the reports, the building permits, the certificates of occupancies that Andrew reports, that's where those numbers come from.
That's the increase, that's 100% of the increase, is the,
Right, that's the only thing
Evo.
they go off of between the census,
okay.
is what you report as new builds. So it is quite important to us to facilitate meaningful growth as much as we can. Other than that, it's been pretty much just business as usual. Lots of planning and zoning questions. Grateful for Aaron's help with that. So unless there's questions, that's...
Okay, who do we have actually working at the landfill at this time?
Okay, we have a gentleman named Jesse Jeffs that's running the equipment, that's doing the bury and the packing. John Fisher, who helps with that, as well as overseeing the operations. He also does a tremendous amount of the equipment maintenance for the landfill. We have Mariette in the scale house. And we have three drivers, full-time drivers. So there's Jim, Gordon, Richard.
Are we putting out application, open position applications for both John and Dave's spots?
We have posted for the mechanic position. The other position, we are waiting until the town council can meet and have some discussions on what they actually are looking for in that position, so we can tailor it to that.
Okay.
Who do we have applied for the board?
Are you on to the next item?
Oh, no. Who's the other person? What was the name?
On that applied for the landfill board.
Mm-hmm.
Micah Barlow, I think.
Micah.
Yeah, that's your next items on the
Oh,
agenda.
okay.
So
Excuse me.
that's
Okay.
why I wondered.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead and finish up the,
I'm done unless you have questions.
no, that's all for me. Does the council have any questions?
Asked and answered.
Okay, thank you. And I'm guessing that the magistrate is not, no report at this time. All right. On to item number 8. Consider appointments to the Arizona Strip Landfill Corp. Board of Directors. So John Todd Barlow and David Lane both resigned from the Arizona Strip Landfill Corp. The ASLC Board of Directors, effective January 31st, 2025, as they accepted other jobs and will not be working in this area any longer. Per the Article of Incorporation of the ASLC, the control and management of the corporation is vested in a Board of Directors, with each member municipality appointing 4 directors. In the packet are copies of the applications that have been received from parties interested in serving on the board. The bylaws of the Landfill Corp establish a 4-year term with a provision to continue until a successor is appointed and qualified. We do not know when the existing terms and members would have extended or ended, so it is recommended that new members be appointed to a 4-year term. Staff will research the appointments and other members appointed by the town and will report back to the council at a future meeting with this appointment. The SLC board members representing the town of Colorado City will be Ralph Johnson Sr., who was appointed October 24th, 2011. Mariah LaCourty, appointed February 11th, 2019. And I would make the recommendation to appoint Vance Barlow on February 10th, 2025, and Micah Barlow, 2025, February 10th.
You need a second on that?
I have a question. I'm just like, I understand why we'd appoint Vance, but I don't understand why we'd appoint a town employee to this board, to this corporation board.
This is not a town, this is a board of directors. It is not.
It still
Not
doesn't make
everybody.
sense to me. It's not, and they don't even live in town limits either.
Micah doesn't?
It doesn't say on his application.
Are you good with this, Vance? Is it like we don't give enough?
Yes.
He's in K-bids.
What?
We've worked with Micah, he's worked with us, and we had David Lane, John Barlow were both employees of the town. And it actually works quite well to have people that are familiar with the operations on that board. And according to Micah's application, he does live within the town limits. I'm not sure exactly where he lives.
Well, he also lives within the area that the landfill
Right, he
serves too.
definitely lives in the service area. Yeah. And so it's up to the council. You can appoint 2, you can appoint 1, leave 1 vacant. I do recommend we get the board filled. And, because, we have a meeting, there is a landfill board meeting scheduled for tomorrow afternoon to reorganize that board and appoint new bank signers, since 2 of the bank signers just left. So and I am very comfortable with Micah. He's a very level-headed, he's proven himself to be very stable and level-headed.
And then are you gonna adjust the other 2, like, or look into what their time limit is and then put something on them all?
Yes, we will, at least on our side, we will figure out and set those times.
We can address
where
them
they can
after.
be revisited and either reapply or open it up.
There's members from Fredonia as well. We don't get to tell them how long to appoint their people, do we?
Well, the bylaws say 4 years, and so we will have that discussion. There's I don't want to get too far out in the weeds, but there are quite a few things that we are going to be addressing with the landfill operations and tighten the ship up quite a bit. At least that's our plan. And the guys from Fredonia are definitely on board with that. We'll have their support.
Well, while we're at it, let's find a whole bunch more stuff for Vance to do.
Well, I got Aaron and Rick taking so much of the stuff that, I was telling Charlie I was wondering what to do with all this nap time, and then this came up, so.
So did you make the motion?
So I would make a motion to affirm the appointment of Vance Barlow and Micah Barlow.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, the motion carries. Item number 9, consider resolution updating Wells Fargo Bank charge card users. Vance.
Okay, with the changing of staff, we usually end up needing to change charge card users. We've canceled the cards issued to John and David. We are requesting, in fact, we went ahead and did it, got cards for Rick and Dalton so that they could keep working. And we are asking to add one for Tamara Steed in the communications center. She is moving to a supervisor position there. So in your packet on page 47 and 48 is 2 resolutions that would maintain and add cardholder. So on the Wells Fargo account, we would be adding Tamara Steed and Dalton Bigley. On the U.S. Bank Visa card, we'll be adding Rick White.
I'll make the motion that we approve updating those bank
I'll
cards.
second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve these changes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Item number 10.
No, we do not need to go into executive session.
Okay. Moving on to item number 11. Budget report and order to pay due claims.
Beginning
Vance.
on page 49 in your packet, we are at 59% of the fiscal year. Our tax revenues are coming in at 50%, so they're a little bit off. They're almost 9% off. Our licenses and permits at 51. Our IGA revenues are at 54. Fines and forfeitures at 36. Overall, our general fund revenue is at 50%, so it's off from our estimates. Our general fund expenditures, the administration is at 58%. Building department's at 40%. Law enforcement at 58%. Thank you to Chief Bradley. He's been running a pretty tight ship this year. Magistrate court at 40% with our little IGA caveat. Emergency dispatch at 53%. Parks and Recs at 51%. Airport is at 43%. Our community engagements, you can see on page 54 where those are running about 30 to 50% in the different categories. Our overall fund expenditures are at 49%, so we're still in a positive cash position, but only because we haven't done some of the things we are hoping to do.
Is that a little alarming?
It's not alarming, it's concerning. It's not reaching an alarming stage yet. It takes a lot to alarm me, though. Our HERF fund is at 58%, and the HERF expenditures are at 60%. So unless you have questions on that.
Council have any questions? No
I will
questions.
mention there are some big expenditures. When we do the taxiway, has got a pretty good chunk of change to the match there. That's really the biggest item in that, and we haven't got the bills yet on the Richard Street engineering, which is underway. So not like we just got a lot of wiggle room, but no, I'm not alarmed yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the payment approval report, Hinton Burdick has two different charges on the very first page. One is for the audit for 2024 in progress, and then the non-audit service where they help us with the reports and get us ready for the next audit. One is for $2,250, the other is $6,800. And then if you move on to page 3, up towards the top, there's a Stephen Wade charge for $6,570. That's for a transmission on the police chief's truck. And then right below that, oh, the K9 unit. Sorry, he had just told me about his trucks. I just had that in my head. Right below that is the AA service and supplies, $4,550 for the police department. About 3/4 of the way down that page, there's licenses and miscellaneous fees. There's a APCO International. It's a 911 calls software for $14,717. And then right below that is one for the Elite Card Payment Center, and that's just $2,183. And that's the PepLink software for the police vehicles internet. Then on to page 4, about a little more than halfway down the page, we have DBT Transportation Service, and that's the weather system. That's $2,385. And then towards the bottom of the page is the Utah Tech University. It's a tuition payment for an officer, new officer, for $3,900. On page 5, about a quarter way down the page, we have the ADEQ. It's a $4,520, and it's a permit. It's a yearly permit for the screening plant. A little more than halfway down the page, we have a charge for $4,856. That is High Desert Supplies. It's truck toolboxes for the Public Works Department. And then on page 6, up towards the top, we have a charge for $3,735. It's crusher parts from Kimball Equipment. And then about halfway down the page, we have one for $7,375, and that's body cams for the police. That's $44,229, and that's the Rodwater transmission line. And then right below that is the ARPA grant for the new wells, $2,800. Now that was the previous month that I got wrong last time on in your packet. So unless you have any questions, that one's finished, and then I still need to go over this last month's.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. In regards to this Tahoe repair, the 2019 with the new transmission for $6,570, I'm just curious. I changed the transmission in my Escalade, and I bought the transmission with a 100,000-mile warranty from preferred auto. And with the labor to install it was just under 5,000. I'm just wondering, did we have some reason to use Stephen Wade, or can we get that kind of work done locally? Save a few dollars. I'm just asking.
We can, but we find a lot of times, especially on the police vehicles, we want to make sure we're preserving that warranty on the overall drivetrain also.
Well, if it's on warranty, why would we be paying out $6,500?
Because that part wasn't. So, yeah, I know what you're saying, and we do shop and we do look around, we do comparison pricing. Sometimes it's a matter of timing, the expediency to get the vehicle back on service. Sometimes it's pricing. But we do. Chief Radley does a pretty good job at price comparison on those things, holding their feet to the fire on them.
Thank you.
So for last month, about halfway down page 1 is Hitten Burdick, and that is, again, it's part of the billing for 2024 audit. It's for $2,500. And then on page 3, clear down at the bottom, there is a charge for $2,684. It's an upgrade badge for program for the PD doors. It's a scanner for the PD doors. On page 4, up at the top, we have a charge for $3,669. And that is Magnum Wall Stoop. It's prosecution. Then on page 5, up towards the top, we have Alliance Consulting. It's the new airport hangars, $6,925. About midway down that page is the crushing screen service. And it says equipment purchase, but it's a new water truck and
Yeah, it's the water truck and excavator that was
Well, that
approved
worked
at the
out.
January meeting.
That worked out the way we planned it to. We got a discount on that
Yes.
equipment.
Thanks, Tom.
And then on page 6, up at the top, there is a charge for $3,101. That's the truck toolbox, High Desert Supply. Halfway down that page, a little more than half, is Kimball Equipment Company. It's the crusher parts, $2,900. And then towards the bottom, we have Energy Services. That is the payment 6 and 7 for well 25 and 26. And that's for $215,418. And then at the very bottom, it's the Wolpert, which is work on the wildlife fencing for the airport, and that's $38,875. I do believe that is everything.
Okay. Thank you. Does the council have any questions? All right, with that, we will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to pay due claims as they come due.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. All right, which brings us to council comments. This time is for any council member to bring up other items for awareness. Council will not be able to take actions on items brought this time. The council can direct staff to do additional research on matters and or schedule them for action on a future agenda. With that, I would like to ask that we consider a work session for some reorganization within the departments of the city. And I don't know what the scheduling would be. The day I had in mind would be the 24th of February to do a work session for,
What day of the week is that?
that is a Monday.
Okay.
So something to consider.
You say the 24th of February, I won't be here.
Okay.
What time of day?
I would think the evening would be the most appropriate, but
Are you gonna be back in town that week at all, or?
Oh, yeah, but I won't be here on the 24th.
would you be on the 25th?
Yeah.
Would we consider the 25th?
I don't
as a
know that I will
Tuesday
be,
after?
I can attend by phone too if I need. But
Okay.
Whatever works the best for the most of us.
What about the rest of the council?
February 25th, February, right? February 25th?
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Would that be okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, 6 PM,
On the 25th, Tuesday.
Tuesday the 25th. We would be meeting upstairs would be the likely place because this room is used for the board meeting for the fire department. Is that correct?
Yes, they usually meet at 5.
Okay.
So, however long their meeting goes.
Well, we can meet at 5 if we need to.
If
I
we're
will.
meeting
I should be able
upstairs,
to be
we
here.
can meet whenever the council, if they want to meet earlier, it's fine with,
Yeah. We
Fine
can meet
with the
earlier
staff.
if it would serve.
3 o'clock wouldn't hurt my thing, but
Would earlier serve?
Yeah, that
Be
would
better?
work for me.
3 o'clock?
3?
3 p.m.? I would go for 3 p.m.
I think that's fine for me, too.
3 PM. The other thing is I am registered for the committee meeting down at the legislative session tomorrow to testify on the town's behalf for the non-prepared food tax. So I'll be traveling down tomorrow evening for Wednesday's session there. So Wednesday morning will be when the committee hears on that bill from our Representative Biasucci. So just so the council is aware of that.
thanks for taking the time.
Or not, does the council have any other comments at this time?
I have a couple of things. I'm really excited about getting some recreation going in our communities. With the, if we get county bike skills park and we were able to locally pull off the skate park also, that would really make me happy. In light of that, where are we with bike lanes and some of the things we've talked about in the past? To get ready for this anticipated hopefulness.
we really haven't been able to dedicate much time. Aaron did some research on bike lanes, and there's actually a fair amount of technical requirements to designate a bike lane. So we haven't really been able to put the time we'd like to into getting those all on the table and making those recommendations yet. But it's, to call it a bike lane, it takes more than just throw paint on the road and say a bike lane. I mean, to meet the ADOT and APWA standards, there's a certain amount of engineering and traffic and other things that have to be brought into the equation.
What do we need to do to begin the process?
Tell me to make it a priority.
We'll need to allocate some money at budget time, I guess.
I don't know that it's even that. I think it's more of a liability type deal. And by designating those, what does that do? How are we gonna get people to acknowledge those any more than they do anything else?
I'll have Aaron put together a summary that we can bring to the council.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
knock the idea. I'm just saying,
It's actually a
The
good
sidewalk turned
idea,
off
it's just
limits.
quite a bit of design work needs to go into it before you throw the
Right.
paint on the road.
Thank you.
Would it help to have some volunteer effort?
We never turn down volunteer effort. We just have to remember sometimes
I know
help's
a
worth what
certain
you pay
person
for
on
it.
the town council that might.
But, yes, if people are willing to go dig those out and help put that together, we'd definitely appreciate any help we can get.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, work the staff needs to do? All right, thank you. We will, at 7:24, we will adjourn.